Good day, friends. My name is Levi Kingsley. I want to use this medium as a personal means of rendering assistance and then reaching out to numerous students out there who may have been finding science subjects extremely difficult. Using this platform, I will teach and solve problems involving science subjects such as mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, agricultural science, technical or engineering drawing, further mathematics, advanced physics, advanced chemistry, advanced biology, advanced agricultural science, advanced geography, advanced technical drawing or engineering drawing, and so on and so forth. So without wasting much time, I want to introduce to us the first subject, mathematics, and then treat the first topic, quadratic equation. So there we go. Today, we are going to consider the first subject using this platform, mathematics, the first subject, and then the first topic here is a quadratic equation. Quadratic equation. Okay, today is Tuesday. Today's date is 8th October. Then the year remains 2019. The year remains 2019. Okay, so that is it. Having said that, quadratic equation is generally represented by this expression. That's first thing you have to understand, that quadratic equation is generally represented by this equation you're going to see on the board right away. General representation of quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c all equal to 0, where the letters such as a, b, and c retain their usual meanings. The presence of square in this expression simply means that when this quadratic equation or general representation of quadratic equation is plotted, if it is plotted on a graph sheet, you are going to have a curve. Such a curve could come from up and move down, or could go from down and move up. That is it. That's the essence of square there. Then, the terms we have here, a is the coefficient of x squared. B, the middle term b, is the coefficient of just x, while c implies the constant term. C is just the constant term. That is it. A is the coefficient of x squared, and the b, the middle term, bx, b there is the coefficient of just x. C is the constant term. That is it. And then the presence of zeros shows that if this is solved, you are going to have two roots, two solutions, and that is it. Okay. And having said that, there are 4 methods of solving quadratic equation, and they are as follows. Okay, we have methods. One is completing the square method. That's method 1. 2 is a factorization method. Method 2, factorization method. Method 3 is a formula method. That's method 3. And then 4 is graphical method. So these are the 4 methods that can be applied in solving any quadratic equation. Completing the square method is a method that involves series of steps from step 1 to about step 6. And then factorization method, using this method you are expected to look for two numbers whose addition or subtraction will give you the middle term, bx, and their products will give you the constant term, c. That is under factorization. Then formula method. Formula method, a particular formula is given to you. If the values of the letters A, B, and C are known and then substituted accordingly in this formula, you obtain your solutions. Okay, then the last one is graphical method. Graphical method here, if a graph sheet is provided and the quadratic equation is constructed into a table of values, of course, these values in this table can be plotted on a graph sheet. And after plotting, a certain curve is obtained. Either it goes from up and comes down, or it moves from down and goes up. So that is it. Another thing we are going to consider here is that the nature of the curve depends on the sign value of the coefficient of s squared. So having said that, let's quickly use one of the methods to resolve this completely. I think the first method here will do justice to that, completing the square method. Okay, so we move on with completing the square method to quickly resolve linear representation without any waste of time. If we apply the completing the square method in resolving this, you will see how the steps are applied, and then when such steps are also applied in real-time problems, you will see how everything will just come out. So here we are going to consider, the first thing we are going to consider here is using completing the square method. So method we are going to use here is completing the square method. Completing the square method. Completing the square method. And its steps. Yes, its steps. That's the method we're going to use. It has a series of steps from step 1 to the last steps, okay? So, without wasting time, step 1. Step 1. The instruction of step 1 is take the constant term. Take the constant term to the right hand side. Right hand side. That's the instruction on step 1. Take the constant term to the right hand side. First of all, we consider general representation as x squared plus bx plus c all equal to 0. This is general representation. Now, the instruction of step 1 says we should take the constant term to the right hand side. How do we do that? Very simple. Consider the sign here. The sign here is a positive sign. We are going to introduce the same constant term, c, with an opposite sign, minus. Okay. ax squared plus bx plus c minus c all equals to 0 minus c. So at the end we are going to have ax squared plus bx plus, okay, no longer plus, all equal to minus c. So this is the last point of the instruction on step 1. So this is what the instruction says we should do, and it has been done. We are going to build on this last point to get step 2. So quickly, step 2 says, step 2, divide through by the coefficient of x squared. Yes, by the coefficient of x squared. That's instruction on step 2. If you look closely at this point, you will see that the coefficient of x squared is just a. The coefficient of x squared here is just a. And the instruction on step 2 says we should divide through. We should build on this by dividing through by the coefficient of x squared. So right away we're going to do that. We have ax squared plus bx all equal to minus c. Then, obeying this instruction, ax squared plus bx, as squared over a again, all equals to minus c over a. Okay? You can see there is a at the numerator and then a as the denominator. Okay? Both will cancel each other and we are left with just x squared plus bx over a all equals to minus c over a. So this invariably is the last point of the instruction on step 2. The last point of the instruction on step 2. So let's quickly look at the instruction on step 3. We are going to build on the instruction on step 2, the last point of the instruction on step 2, to get the instruction on what? Step 3. And we move like that progressively until we get to the last step, which is step 6. Okay. Step 3 says find the half. Step 3 says find the half of the coefficient of x, square it, and add it to both sides. That's the instruction of step 3. Step 3 says find the half of the coefficient of x, square it, square, and add it to both sides. So the instruction here is very simple. We are going to build on this. To find the half of the coefficient of x. Coefficient of x here is b over a. We are going to find the half of b over a, square it, and then introduce it to both sides, both left-hand side and the right-hand side, and we're done. Having done that, that means we have carried out the instruction on step 3. Quickly. Instruction here, we build on this. X squared plus bx over a all equals to minus c over a. Finding the half will give us x squared plus bx over a. Remember, this is x over a. Half now is 1 over 2 times b over a squared at this point is equals to minus c over a plus half again 1 over 2 times b over a all squared. Okay, so you can see we have found the half. By doing this, we have obeyed the instruction here. We have carried out the instruction given on step 3. We have found the half. So let us finalize everything. Let us finish everything by simplifying the remaining terms. We'll move on to this side. So the next thing we're going to do is to finish the remaining answer by a simple simplification. Yes. And then that does it. So what we're going to do, having seen all that, we have x squared plus, look at it there, bx over a plus, what will happen here is just b over 2a squared is equal to minus c over a plus b squared over 4a squared. One might ask, how do we get this? It's very simple. Check out here. At this point, look at where we found the half and introduce it to the both sides by squaring it, okay? Now, if this one multiply this, we have b, 2 times a, we have 2a, and all squared. That is this. So this one here, 1 multiply b squared, 2a raised to square, this will give us 4a squared, okay? 2 will become 4, a will become squared, a squared. Okay, so that is it. The next thing we're going to do is simplification now. Bx over a plus b over 2a. b over 2a, okay, equal to LCM here will give us 4a squared. Yes, yes, to give us 4a squared. So if a divide 4a squared, it will reduce this to 4a. So 4a multiplied minus c will give us minus 4ac, our plus sign. So if 4a squared divide itself, we have 1, we'll get 1, and then that 1 multiplied b squared will give us b squared. So that is it. Or we can still rewrite this as s squared plus bx over a plus b over 2a. Remember, here should be squared, please. Also, here should be squared. Okay, this is equal to 4a squared, b squared minus 4ac. Okay, so this is the last point of the instruction on step 3. The instruction on step 3. Then we move on. Having done that, we move on swiftly to carrying out the instruction on step 4. Step 4. The instruction on step 4. Very simple. Factorize the left hand side. The left hand side, that is the LHS, and then simplify the right hand side. The right hand side. That is a RHX. So that is the instruction. This is the instruction on step 4. We are going to carry out this instruction immediately. This side. We are going to do this, carry out this instruction on this side quickly. So here we are going to consider the fact that we need to factorize the left hand side and simplify the right hand side quickly without wasting any time, because the steps involved here are still remaining about 2 and we are done. So the original equation is x squared. This is the original now, bx over a plus b over 2a. That's the side we are going to factorize, and then b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. Yes. Okay. So that is it. We are going to factorize the left hand side. Okay? We are going to factorize the left hand side. So that is it. So we have factorization x here. We are going to consider this and this. Okay? The original equation from step 3 is this. We are going to factorize this side and simplify this. If there is anything else remaining to be simplified here. So we move on. Plus b over 2a. The left hand side is being factorized. So the simplification here is very simple. It's already simplified. So we don't need to go back to it again, because 4a squared and then b squared minus 4ac is already simplified. It was simplified at the last point of what? Of the instruction on step 3. So the right hand side is already simplified. So we just put it down like that. So this is the final point of the instruction. This is the final point of the instruction on step 4. The final point of the instruction on step 4. So quickly we move on to step 5. Step 5 says what? Find the square root of both sides. Step 5. Find the square roots. The square roots of both sides. That's the instruction on step 5. So let's carry it out immediately without wasting time. Find the square roots of both sides. Both sides, left hand side and right hand side. We should find the square root of the left hand side and then the right hand side, terms. The essence is for it to remove so that this squared will be removed. Okay, so we'll move on quickly to step 5. Let's look at how this can be resolved stepwisely until we arrive at the final step, which is number 6. Yes, number 6. Step 6 is the final step. Very soon we'll be done with all this. Okay. So let's quickly here. The original equation is xb over 2a squared is equal to b squared minus what? 4ac all over 4a squared. Remember, this original equation, they say find the square root of both sides. We're going to do this right away. We have x plus b over 2a squared equal to, here, introducing the square root this side, we must consider the presence of plus upon minus, because since the square root is being introduced at the right hand side, it must go with either positive sign or negative sign. Hence, plus upon minus root b squared minus 4ac all over what? 4a squared. So, you can see, this is very, very clear. This square here will take care of the square root, and we are left with square, we take care of the square root, and we are left with x plus b over 2a all equal to plus upon minus. Look at this. If we split this, we have this squared minus 4ac over root 4a squared. Yes. This is what we are going to have. If it is split, if this term is split, we have this. And finally, we have x plus b over 2a is equal to plus upon minus. Very simple. This is a complex number. Having split this, we have this now. But this term is a complex number. We can't go into finding this. So we just put it that way. B squared minus 4ac all over. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of a squared is just a. Okay. So this is the last point of the instruction. The last point of the instruction on step 5. Yes. The last point of the instruction on step 5. This is it. Very simple and clear. Very simple and clear for anybody's understanding. Yes. Okay, we are going to build on this final instruction, final point of the instruction on step 5 to get the instruction on step 6. To get it done quickly. Step 6. Step 6, make x the subject of the formula and we find the roots. Make x the subject of the expression. Make x the subject of the expression. Quickly, we make x the subject of the expression. Step 6. Step 6 here says make x, the instruction there, make x the subject of the equation. Either you use equation or expression, doesn't really make any difference, okay? So that's what we're going to do. The original equation is given as x plus b over 2a all equal to plus upon minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Here, we must pay serious attention here. For us to make x the subject of the formula, we must consider the presence of this term, b over 2a. b over 2a at the right hand and left hand side is positive. So for us to be able to remove it from the left hand side and subsequently introduce it to the right hand side, we must consider the sign. So to do that, we introduce b over 2a again with an opposite sign to both sides. Okay, that is it. X plus b over 2a minus b over 2a is equal to minus b over 2a plus upon minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That is it. That is it. It has been done. you see there is plus b over 2a minus b over 2a, which will cancel out, and that goes. We have it at this point, right hand side, introduced at the right hand side. So let's quickly do that. Now, what we're going to do is very simple. We have already done the real thing. The remaining one is just to explain the remaining steps. Very simple. We have here we now have x is equal to minus b over 2a plus upon minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Further simplification. Further simplification here, we need to consider the fact that there is two denominators of the same nature, 2a and 2a. So the RCM is going to be just 2a. So if 2a divides 2a, we are going to have 1. Multiply this, it gives us minus b, and it goes that way. Root b squared minus 4ac. That's for x. Okay, and this is the final resolution of the instruction on step 6. This actually is the final resolution of the instruction on step 6. Now let's consider how the roots will come out. Okay, the roots, of course, x will now boil down to x1 and x2. So for x1, we go with minus b. First of all, we go with plus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Then for x2, we go with minus b again. This time around is going to be minus root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that is it. All over 2a. Okay, so these are the two roots. These are the two solutions that you are expected to find anytime, any moment you are solving any quadratic equation using the completing the square method. These steps, if you understand them very well, you can use them to solve any quadratic equation with ease, without any difficulty. So, having said all that, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you, and see you next class, when we are going to apply these steps in solving serious problems, real-time problems on this topic. It's been nice. Okay.